How often do you hear the phrase "live life to the fullest" and wonder exactly what that means? Society constantly tells us how to live. Follow the rules, seek success, chase happiness. But what if living life to the fullest goes beyond these conventional ideas? What if the path to truly enjoying your life lies in embracing the raw, unfiltered moments, shedding the illusions, and daring to create your own meaning instead of waiting for it to show up? In today's episode, we're diving into 10 unconventional ways to live a life that feels alive, not by following the usual advice, but by challenging the norms and embracing the chaos, uncertainty, and depth that life has to offer. Ready to break free from the expectations and truly live? Let's get started. 1. Stop worshipping meaning. Create it instead. How often have you found yourself obsessing over finding the meaning of life? We've all been taught that the purpose of life is something you need to discover, as if it's a hidden treasure just waiting to be unearthed. We search for it in books, religions, relationships, and achievements, believing that once we find it, everything will fall into place. But here's the truth. Meaning isn't something that's given to us. It's something we actively create through our actions, relationships, and mindset. The constant search for meaning often leaves us feeling empty because it places our happiness and purpose outside of ourselves, as something we need to find. We look for signs, signals, or deep moments of clarity to confirm our sense of purpose. But in doing so, we ignore the truth. We have the power to create our own meaning every single day. Life isn't about uncovering some grand universal truth. It's about deciding what your life means to you right now, in this very moment. The Stoics understood this well. They didn't wait for meaning to come to them. They understood that life's purpose is built through the choices we make, the relationships we form, and how we live our values day in and day out. Seneca, for instance, encouraged people to live in alignment with their values and virtues, because that's where true meaning is found, not in external achievements or societal validation, but in how we show up and live authentically. So how can you start creating meaning in your life today? Instead of asking, "What is the meaning of life?" ask yourself, "What meaning can I create today?" Focus on the actions and decisions that bring you closer to your values. Start small in your interactions, in the work you do, in the way you spend your time. Meaning is not something to search for, it's something to build. You can start by infusing purpose into even the smallest of moments. Choose to help others, express gratitude, challenge yourself, and embrace growth. By doing so, you create a life rich with meaning. No waiting required. Imagine today, instead of searching for meaning in all the wrong places, you decided to create your own. Every action you take, every choice you make, is a building block of meaning. The more you focus on actively creating your purpose, the more fulfilled and alive you'll feel, because you are the one giving life its true meaning. 2. Live as if you were already dead. Have you ever considered what it would be like to live as though you were already dead? At first, this may sound morbid or unsettling, but bear with me. The samurai practiced a powerful principle called dying before you die. This practice involves mentally accepting death every day, reflecting on the fleeting nature of life, and truly internalizing the fact that we are all inevitably mortal. Why would anyone choose to meditate on death? Because when you accept the reality of your own mortality, something powerful happens. Fear begins to lose its grip on you, and you start living with greater clarity. focus and purpose. Most people live in constant fear of death, avoiding thinking about it or acting as though it will never come. This fear can keep us stuck in the status quo, afraid to take risks, afraid to be vulnerable, and often afraid to truly live. But the samurai understood something profound. When you realize that each moment could be your last, you stop wasting time. You stop letting fear hold you back. You start living every day as if it were your last. And in doing so, you begin to appreciate life in its rawest, most authentic form. When you accept death, you also accept the urgency of life. This isn't about being obsessed with an end, but about realizing that the time we have is precious and it should be used wisely. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote often about the importance of reflecting on death and the impermanence of life. He wasn't morbid or pessimistic. He understood that contemplating death made every moment feel more significant. It reminded him that life is fleeting and that we shouldn't waste time on trivial matters, grudges, or distractions. Think about how different your life would be if you approached every moment with this awareness that nothing is guaranteed and the present moment is all you really have. Imagine the courage you'd have to pursue your passions, confront your fears, and make the most of every opportunity. This doesn't mean living recklessly or being consumed by the thought of death, but rather embracing the idea that because our time is limited, we should focus on what truly matters. When you live as if you were already dead, nothing holds you back. You free yourself from the fear of failure, judgment, and regret. So how can you start living as if you were already dead today? Begin by reflecting on your mortality regularly. Ask yourself, if I knew I had limited time, how would I spend it? What would I prioritize? What would I let go of? Challenge yourself to act with more urgency and purpose. Stop waiting for the perfect moment and start taking action now. Realize that every decision, every relationship, and every experience is a precious opportunity. Imagine today, instead of allowing fear to control your actions, you embraced the idea of living fully and fearlessly. You approached each moment with the understanding that time is precious, and you used it to focus on what truly matters. Whether it's pursuing your dreams, loving the people around you, or simply experiencing life as it comes. 3. Stop trying to escape. Immerse yourself in the chaos. How often do you find yourself escaping from life's challenges? Whether it's through distractions, entertainment, or just retreating into your comfort zone. Whether it's binge-watching TV shows, endlessly scrolling through social media, or indulging in habits that numb your mind. Most people are in a constant state of escape. We run from the discomfort, the chaos, the uncertainty of life, believing that if we just distract ourselves enough, we'll be able to avoid the pain. But what if I told you that the true path to growth and transformation lies not in avoiding chaos, but in immersing yourself fully in it? In today's world, we live in an age of constant distractions, where we're encouraged to disconnect from reality and escape the unpleasant parts of life. But the reality is, the more we avoid the chaos, the more we miss out on the growth, learning, and deeper connections that come from engaging with it. Life isn't meant to be a smooth, uninterrupted flow. It's filled with challenges, discomfort, and uncertainty. The Stoics understood this and embraced the chaos rather than running from it. They taught that true strength comes from facing adversity head-on, not avoiding it. Marcus Aurelius, for example, often wrote in his meditations about the importance of accepting the chaos of life as part of our growth and development. Escaping from discomfort only gives it power over you. It creates a cycle where you feel temporarily relieved, but ultimately return to the same challenges, often more deeply rooted. The more you try to numb or avoid your problems, the longer they persist and the more control they have over your life. In contrast, when you face life's chaos with open arms, you break the cycle. You confront your fears, grow stronger from them, and develop the resilience to navigate life's uncertainties without being consumed by them. Think about the times when you've avoided a tough situation only to find that it worsened over time. The discomfort of facing challenges may seem unbearable in the moment, but by confronting it, you release its power over you. The Stoics believed that the key to peace wasn't the absence of difficulties, it was the ability to find peace within them. They didn't look for ways to escape life's problems. They looked for ways to embrace them with calmness, clarity, and strength. So how can you start immersing yourself in life's chaos today? First, recognize when you're tempted to escape. When you feel the urge to distract yourself or avoid something difficult, ask yourself, what would happen if I faced this situation head-on instead? Consciously choose to confront challenges rather than run from them. This doesn't mean creating unnecessary conflict or seeking chaos for chaos' sake. It means engaging with life's natural rhythm, understanding that discomfort is part of the process, and embracing it as a stepping stone to growth. Imagine today, instead of looking for distractions or running from the uncomfortable parts of your life, you dove straight into the chaos. You embraced uncertainty, accepted the discomfort, and let it push you toward transformation. By doing so, you'll not only gain new strength and wisdom, but you'll also learn that true peace comes not from avoiding the messiness of life, but from accepting and navigating it with courage. 4. Destroy the perfect life illusion. How often do you find yourself chasing the idea of a perfect life? A life where everything falls into place, just as you've imagined it. We're sold this illusion from a young age. The perfect career, the perfect relationship, the perfect house, and the perfect family. Society teaches us that we should always strive for perfection, constantly measuring our happiness and success against an ideal that often feels just out of reach. But here's the truth. The perfect life is a myth, a social fiction designed to keep us perpetually chasing something that doesn't exist. The pursuit of perfection can lead us down a never-ending path of dissatisfaction. We keep thinking that once we achieve the perfect job, relationship, or lifestyle, everything will finally fall into place. But when we reach these goals, we're often left with the realization that they don't provide the happiness or fulfillment we expected. Why? Because there is no such thing as the perfect life. Every experience, every relationship, every success comes with its challenges, flaws, and imperfections. The real magic of life happens not in perfection, but in the messiness, the unpredictability, and the authenticity of the journey. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't waste time chasing after unattainable ideals. Instead, they focused on what they could control, how they responded to life's challenges, how they cultivated inner peace, and how they lived with virtue. They embraced the imperfections of life and recognized that these challenges were an essential part of growth. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on the nature of imperfection, reminding himself that life is not meant to be flawless, but full of lessons, experiences, and growth. To the Stoics, perfection was not the goal. It was about accepting life as it comes and making the best of every situation, regardless of how imperfect it might seem. Think about it. How many times have you been frustrated because things didn't go according to plan, or because life didn't match the ideal image you had in your mind? Maybe you were disappointed with the outcome of a project, or the course of a relationship didn't align with your expectations. Instead of focusing on how things should be, take a moment to appreciate how they actually are. Life is raw, unfiltered, and full of unpredictability, and that's where the beauty lies. There is no need for perfection when you can embrace life in all its forms, with all its ups and downs. So how can you destroy the illusion of the perfect life and start embracing the one you have? Begin by shifting your focus away from perfection. Instead of measuring yourself against an unattainable ideal, focus on making progress, embracing the challenges, and appreciating the lessons you're learning along the way. Stop comparing your life to others, and stop holding on to the belief that there's some ideal version of life waiting for you. Life isn't about achieving perfection. It's about living authentically with purpose and acceptance of what is. Imagine today, instead of striving for perfection, you embraced the reality of your life as it is, flaws, challenges, and all. You stopped waiting for everything to be perfect before you could be happy, and instead found joy in the journey itself. By letting go of the illusion of perfection, you open yourself to a more fulfilling, authentic experience where every moment, imperfection and all, becomes a part of your story. 5. Abandon the need to be understood. How often do you find yourself longing for validation, hoping others will understand your thoughts, feelings, or actions? We live in a world where we are constantly seeking approval, whether it's from friends, family, colleagues, or society at large. The desire to be understood is natural, but it can also be one of the most limiting forces in our lives. The more we cling to the need for validation and understanding from others, the more we lose sight of our own sense of worth and identity. The truth is, you don't need anyone else to get you in order to be whole or valid. When you tie your self-worth to other people's perceptions, or seek to be understood by everyone around you, you're giving away your power. You become dependent on external validation, which can be unstable and fleeting. People's opinions change, and their understanding of you is always colored by their own experiences, biases, and perspectives. So if you spend your life waiting for others to truly understand you, you'll constantly find yourself frustrated, misunderstood, and emotionally exhausted. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, emphasized the importance of self-reliance and internal validation. They believed that the only person who truly needed to understand you was yourself. When you live for the approval of others, you compromise your authentic self. By seeking to be understood, you may unknowingly mold yourself into someone you're not, just to fit the expectations of others. The Stoics rejected this need for validation. They understood that true freedom comes from living according to your own values, not the opinions of those around you. Think about how much energy you spend trying to explain yourself or seeking approval, whether it's in personal relationships, at work, or on social media. We often find ourselves in a constant cycle of trying to get others to understand us. But when we let go of the need to be understood, we stop seeking permission for our existence. We stop letting others' opinions dictate our actions, and we become free to live on our own terms without the constant need to explain ourselves or seek validation. Instead of trying to make everyone understand you, start by understanding yourself. Reflect on your values, desires, and boundaries. What do you want out of life? Who do you want to be, regardless of what others think? When you define yourself, you remove the need for external approval. This doesn't mean you should isolate yourself or stop caring about others' feelings, but it means that your worth and sense of direction come from within, not from the understanding or approval of others. So how can you begin to abandon the need to be understood today? Start by noticing when you're seeking validation. Ask yourself, am I trying to gain approval from others because I don't feel confident in my own choices? Instead of explaining yourself, try simply acting in alignment with your values and allowing your actions to speak for themselves. When you stop waiting for others to understand you, you stop letting their opinions control your narrative. Imagine today, instead of seeking understanding from others, you embraced your own truth without fear of judgment. You let go of the need for approval and simply lived according to your values. In doing so, you'd experience a deeper sense of freedom and authenticity, no longer tethered to the fleeting need to be understood by those around you. 6. Burn your old identity and recreate yourself. How often do you find yourself holding on to an identity that no longer serves you? Maybe it's the person you used to be, or the roles you've played for years. Whether it's the hard worker, the quiet one, the people pleaser, or even the overachiever, these labels may have once felt like your foundation, but over time, they can start to limit you. You begin to believe that you are only one thing, only capable of one type of success or behavior. But here's the truth. You are not defined by your past or the identity you've created for yourself. You have the power to reinvent yourself at any moment. The idea of burning your old identity and recreating yourself is about breaking free from the story you've been telling yourself. It's about shedding the labels that have been placed on you, whether by society, family, or even by your own expectations, and choosing to become the person you truly want to be. The Stoics were all about self-transformation. They believed that we are not born fixed. We are constantly evolving, learning, and reshaping ourselves. Marcus Aurelius and Seneca both wrote about the power of self-reflection and the importance of continuous self-improvement, urging us to evolve beyond our old habits, thoughts, and even our former selves. Think about it. How often do we cling to identities that no longer serve us? Maybe you've defined yourself by past mistakes, regrets, or labels others have put on you. You may have spent years identifying with a version of yourself that isn't aligned with who you want to be today. The problem with holding on to an old identity is that it keeps you trapped in a version of yourself that may be outdated, incomplete, or even limiting. It keeps you tied to the past and prevents you from growing into the person you're capable of becoming. When you embrace the idea of burning your old identity, you give yourself the freedom to create something new. You break free from the constraints of what you used to be and start crafting the version of yourself that reflects your true potential. This doesn't mean abandoning who you are. It means giving yourself permission to evolve, to be dynamic, and to grow beyond the boundaries that you've previously set for yourself. So how can you begin burning your old identity and recreating yourself? First, reflect on the identities you've been holding on to. Ask yourself, which labels or stories am I clinging to that no longer serve me? It might be helpful to journal or talk through these with someone you trust. Then, Consciously choose to let go of those limiting beliefs or behaviors. Start making small changes, whether it's adjusting the way you speak to yourself, taking on a new challenge, or pursuing a passion that's always been on your mind. Every small step toward reinvention is an act of freedom. Imagine today, instead of letting the weight of your past identity hold you back, you decided to let go of the labels that no longer define you. You embraced change, allowed yourself to evolve, and began living in alignment with the person you are becoming. By doing so, you would unlock the potential for growth, freedom, and authenticity in a way that allows you to become the best version of yourself. 7. Seek experiences that alter your perception. How often do you find yourself stuck in the same routine, living life on autopilot, and seeing the world in the same way day after day? It's easy to fall into a pattern where everything feels familiar, predictable, and safe. But the truth is, routine and familiarity can trap us in narrow thinking and limit our growth. To truly live life to the fullest, we need to break out of that comfort zone and actively seek experiences that challenge and expand our perception of the world. The Stoics believed that in order to grow and improve, we must constantly challenge our thinking and our limits. They didn't advocate for a life of comfort and ease. Instead, they embraced discomfort, difficulty, and new experiences because they understood that it's in these challenges that we find growth. The philosopher Seneca once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." By stepping out of our comfort zones and exposing ourselves to new and different experiences, we expand our minds, our understanding of the world, and our ability to adapt and thrive. Think about it. When was the last time you did something that truly altered your perspective? It could be anything from traveling to a new place, engaging in deep philosophical discussions, or even trying something physically demanding. These experiences shake up your routine and force you to view the world through a different lens. You might come to realize how much more there is to life beyond what you know. You may discover new passions, challenge your assumptions, and even shift your beliefs. By actively seeking experiences that alter your perception, you open yourself up to a wealth of new possibilities. It's easy to get stuck in the cycle of comfort, but real transformation happens when you break that cycle. This doesn't mean seeking out chaos or discomfort for its own sake. It means deliberately choosing to put yourself in situations where your perception will be challenged, where you can learn something new, and where growth is inevitable. Whether it's through new travel experiences, learning a new skill, or simply stepping into unfamiliar social situations, each experience adds a new layer to your understanding of the world and your place within it. So how can you start seeking experiences that alter your perception today? Begin by thinking about areas of your life where you feel stuck or stagnant. What could you try that is completely new and different from your usual routine? This might mean taking a solo trip, reading books outside of your usual interests, engaging in a challenging physical activity, or even spending time with people whose perspectives differ from your own. The key is to embrace newness, discomfort, and the unknown. Each time you push yourself into unfamiliar territory, you invite transformation and a fresh perspective. Imagine today, instead of sticking to your usual habits, you made an intentional effort to seek out something that would challenge your way of thinking. Whether it's traveling to a new place, learning a new skill, or simply trying something outside your comfort zone, you would experience the world in a whole new way. This openness to change and growth is what keeps life vibrant, meaningful, and truly fulfilling. 8. Do things that make no logical sense just because. How often do you find yourself calculating every decision, making sure it fits within a logical framework or serves a practical purpose? While being practical and thoughtful in our choices is important, there's something magical about doing something simply because it makes you feel alive, not because it makes sense. Too often we let logic and reason dictate our every move, but life doesn't always work that way. Sometimes the most powerful experiences come when we throw logic out the window and do something purely for the joy of it. Think about how freeing it would feel to do something just because it excites you, even if it doesn't have a clear benefit or outcome. The Stoics themselves were deeply concerned with the idea of living a life of purpose, but they also understood the importance of living fully and experiencing life as it comes. They didn't see every moment as something to be maximized for productivity. They understood that embracing spontaneity and enjoying life's absurdities was also essential for growth. In our modern world, we're often conditioned to make logical decisions, choosing the safest path, the most practical option, the one with the most guaranteed outcomes. But this approach can make life feel rigid, predictable, and quite frankly, a little dull. When was the last time you did something that made no sense at all, just for the thrill of it? Maybe it was dancing in the rain, taking an impromptu trip to a place you've never been, or striking up a conversation with a complete stranger. These experiences may not have a practical purpose, but they enrich our lives in ways that logic and planning can't. By breaking free from the constant need to justify everything, you invite joy, creativity, and spontaneity into your life. Doing something that makes no logical sense can spark new ideas, break you out of mental ruts, and remind you that life isn't just about efficiency, it's about experience. These moments often become the stories we tell, the memories we cherish, and the experiences that make us feel fully alive. So how can you start doing things that make no logical sense today? Start by letting go of the need to rationalize every decision. When you feel the urge to try something spontaneous, whether it's trying a new hobby, saying yes to an impromptu invitation, or simply doing something absurd for fun, go for it. Don't worry about the outcome. Let go of your need to control every moment and allow yourself the freedom to be spontaneous. Imagine today, instead of planning every detail or thinking about how practical your actions are, you allowed yourself to do something simply because it brought you joy. You danced when you felt like it, you explored something new, or you talked to someone you wouldn't normally approach. By embracing the unexpected, you invite new experiences that make life richer and more vibrant, reminding yourself that not everything needs to have a purpose. Sometimes being is enough. 9. Accept that suffering is inevitable, then transcend it. How many times have you tried to avoid pain or suffering in your life? We live in a world where we're constantly told to live your best life and be happy, as though happiness is the only emotion worth experiencing. But here's the truth. Suffering is an inevitable part of the human experience. It's not something we can avoid forever, no matter how hard we try. What we can control, however, is how we respond to it and whether we allow it to define us. The Stoics had a profound understanding of suffering. They didn't shy away from it. They accepted it as a part of life. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently wrote about the inevitability of pain and suffering, emphasizing that it's not suffering itself that harms us, but our resistance to it. Layers of stress, frustration, and anxiety. But when we embrace it, when we accept that pain and hardship are simply part of the human condition, we free ourselves from its grip. Think about it. When was the last time you suffered? And how did you react? Did you try to avoid it? Or did you face it head-on? The more we resist pain, the more it persists. The truth is, suffering is not something to be feared or avoided. It's an opportunity for growth. Every time we face hardship, we have the chance to build resilience, deepen our empathy, and learn more about ourselves. When we transcend suffering, we don't do so by avoiding it. We do so by choosing how we respond to it. This is where true strength comes from. It's not in running away from discomfort, but in learning how to sit with it, process it, and allow it to fuel our growth. The Stoics practiced amor fati, the love of fate, meaning they learned to love every part of their life, even the painful moments, because they understood that everything had the potential to teach them something valuable. By accepting suffering as a part of life, we stop letting it control us and instead begin to control how we let it shape us. So how can you start accepting suffering and transcending it today? Begin by acknowledging that life is filled with both joy and pain, and both are necessary for growth. When you face hardship, don't resist it. Instead, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this experience make me stronger, wiser, or more compassionate? Shift your focus from avoiding pain to embracing it as an opportunity to grow, to build resilience, and to deepen your understanding of yourself and the world. Imagine today, instead of avoiding or resenting the inevitable struggles that come your way, you embraced them as part of your journey. You accepted suffering not as something to flee from, but as something that can teach you, transform you, and help you evolve into a stronger, more capable person. When you stop fearing suffering, you take away its power over you and find the freedom to transcend it. 10. Play the cosmic joke. Laugh at existence. Have you ever taken a moment to just laugh at life? The absurdity of it all, the unpredictable nature of existence, and how often we get tangled in things that really aren't as serious as we make them out to be. Life is a paradox, a game, a joke, a wild adventure with no real punchline. The more seriously we take it, the more stressed and overwhelmed we become. But what if the secret to enjoying life to the fullest lies in embracing its absurdities and laughing at the cosmic joke? The Stoics were not opposed to humor or lightness in life. In fact, they understood that laughter and a playful attitude could be powerful tools for maintaining balance and perspective. They often reminded themselves to view life from a detached, almost humorous perspective. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reflected on how life is fleeting and filled with contradictions. He knew that by taking life too seriously, we trap ourselves in the very things that bring us pain, instead of getting bogged down by the constant pursuit of perfection or control. The Stoics recommended accepting life's imperfection with a sense of humor and grace. Think about it. How often do you take situations in your life, your job, your relationships, your goals, so seriously that they create stress and anxiety? It's easy to get caught up in the belief that everything needs to go perfectly, that every outcome must be controlled, and that we must succeed at every moment. But in reality, life is filled with messiness, uncertainty, and surprises. When you learn to laugh at these unpredictable moments, You take away their power to cause stress. You see them for what they truly are. Temporary, fleeting experiences that don't define your happiness or worth. Laughing at life doesn't mean being indifferent to its challenges or ignoring its serious moments. It's about adopting a mindset that refuses to get overwhelmed by the seriousness of life's ups and downs. It's about seeing the humor in our struggles, understanding that no matter how hard we try, we can't control everything, and that's okay. By embracing life's contradictions and imperfections, we free ourselves from the pressure to be perfect and allow ourselves to truly enjoy the ride. So how can you start playing the cosmic joke and laughing at existence today? Begin by stepping back and viewing life from a more detached perspective. When something unexpected or inconvenient happens, instead of reacting with frustration, try laughing at the absurdity of it. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? How can I find humor in this situation? By approaching life's challenges with a light heart, you'll find that the pressure to always have everything figured out will lift, and you'll begin to enjoy the journey, no matter how unpredictable it may be. Imagine today, instead of getting bogged down by the serious, stressful parts of life, you took a step back and laughed at the chaos. You saw life for the paradox it truly is, letting go of the need to control everything and embracing the humor in the unpredictable moments. By doing so, you'll experience greater joy, freedom, and peace, knowing that life's cosmic joke is best played with a smile. As we've journeyed through these 10 ways to enjoy your life to the fullest beyond conventional wisdom, it's clear that true fulfillment doesn't come from following the typical path or chasing after perfection. Instead, it comes from embracing the chaos, finding meaning in the actions you take, and accepting that life, in all its unpredictability, is a gift. By choosing to live with purpose, laughter, and the freedom to reinvent yourself, you open up space for growth, adventure, and genuine happiness. The pursuit of life's meaning doesn't have to be a search. It's something you create in every moment, every decision, and every experience. Remember, life is not meant to be perfect or predictable. It's a wild, beautiful ride that's full of lessons, contradictions, and even laughter. The more you allow yourself to engage with life's chaos and absurdities, the more you'll find joy and peace in simply being alive. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start creating your own meaning and laugh at the cosmic joke that is life. You've got everything you need to live fully. Embrace it. Have you ever been around someone whose presence alone drains your energy, manipulates your emotions, or leaves chaos in their wake? Unfortunately, evil doesn't just exist in myths or movies. It's real, it's around us. And even more unnerving, it often operates in subtle ways. But don't worry, with a little awareness, you can spot the warning signs and protect yourself. Evil people don't show up with horns or tails, but their actions reveal their true nature. They manipulate, destroy, and exploit your kindness for their gain. The good news, you don't have to be a detective to recognize them. Ancient Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius have shared timeless wisdom on how to identify evil and guard yourself against it. In this video, I'll uncover 10 evident signs that you're dealing with an evil person, signs you simply can't ignore. These insights will empower you to maintain your peace and safeguard your energy. So let's dive in and learn how to navigate this world with clarity and confidence. Ready? Let's get started. Number 1. Constant manipulation. Seneca once said, "He who has many fears also has many things to manipulate." This isn't just a reminder, but a warning about the power of manipulation in the hands of malicious people. These individuals don't thrive on integrity. They flourish by distorting reality, turning lies into their most effective weapon. I remember a time when I worked with a colleague I initially trusted. He was skillful at praising me in front of others, making me feel recognized and valued. But behind the scenes, he began spinning subtle narratives, quietly undermining my work and inflating minor mistakes into major issues for the management. When I sensed something was off and decided to confront him, he remained calm, saying he was merely helping me improve. It made me question myself. Was I doing something wrong? I started doubting my abilities. In truth, he wasn't helping me at all. He was pushing me into a state of dependence, making me feel I needed his guidance to be good enough. This is how manipulation operates. It doesn't just disorient you. It erodes your confidence. Manipulators don't build relationships on trust and honesty. They exploit your vulnerabilities to gain control. They deftly prey on your uncertainties, convincing you that only they understand you and that only they can guide you. Stoic philosophy teaches us that the key to combating manipulation is clarity and self-control. A truly virtuous person will always lead you toward independence and autonomy, not entangle you in dependency. If someone in your life constantly urges you to follow their lead while disregarding your boundaries or personal autonomy, it's a clear sign you need to step back. Remember Epictetus' wisdom. No man is free who is not master of himself. By refusing to participate in their manipulation game, you reclaim control over your thoughts, actions, and decisions. Mental clarity and self-awareness are the antidotes to their toxic influence. You don't need to argue or prove yourself. Just step out of their manipulation and hold on to your freedom. Number 2, a mask of charm. Epictetus once reminded us that appearances, no matter how dazzling, often hide the truth beneath. Have you ever encountered someone whose charm seemed almost too perfect? As if scripted from a movie, their radiant smile, soothing words, and ability to make you feel special, everything seemed like a flawless performance. But when you take a step back and look closer, you might realize that behind the facade lies a motive far from genuine. Charm, when used sincerely, is a wonderful thing. It connects people, builds trust, and creates meaningful relationships. But in the hands of someone with darker intentions, charm becomes a deadly weapon. They know how to capture your heart, disarm you with their carefully crafted words, and present themselves as the friend you've always sought, the perfect partner, or even a trusted mentor. Yet their charm is hollow, like a glossy shell concealing a bitter truth. Marcus Aurelius once warned us, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." These individuals don't just manipulate, they use their charm to mask their true nature. It's selfishness, deceit, and manipulation. Observe how they behave when no one is watching. How do they treat those who offer them no benefit? Words can be beautifully decorated, but actions paint the truest picture of character. I once knew a friend who had an uncanny ability to make everyone feel adored. He showered people with compliments, making them believe they were genuinely special to him. But over time I realized he wasn't the person he appeared to be. His praise felt calculated, serving as a tool to extract something in return. And when there was nothing left to gain, he quickly distanced himself, often badmouthing the same people he once flattered. How do you break free from their enchantment? Don't ignore the subtle warnings in your gut. If you feel charmed yet uneasy, trust that instinct. These manipulative individuals rely on your willingness to overlook the red flags, to believe in the illusion they've created. Stoic philosophy teaches us that the truth doesn't need a mask. Genuine kindness shines on its own without pretense. So step past the glittering surface and seek the truth beneath. Authentic goodness doesn't need a disguise. Number 3, lies without conscience. Marcus Aurelius once advised that nothing should be done if it isn't right, and nothing should be said if it isn't true. Yet for truly malicious individuals, truth is merely an obstacle. They don't lie out of carelessness. They lie because deceit has become their second nature. Their lies aren't random. They're crafted with purpose, whether it's to gain power, evade responsibility, or distort your perception of reality. Imagine a friend who consistently weaves elaborate tales to gain credibility. Once she convinced you that she single-handedly managed a critical project, claiming full responsibility for its success. But upon closer inspection, every document and email you reviewed proved otherwise. When confronted, instead of owning up, she accused you of misunderstanding the situation, deflecting attention to unrelated details. This is how master manipulators operate. They make you question your memory and judgment, subtly eroding your grip on reality. Evil manipulators exploit your uncertainty, convincing you they know better, and in doing so, they seize control of the narrative. Their lies demand constant upkeep, new layers of deceit to cover the old ones. But herein lies their Achilles heel. Truth is resilient, requiring no maintenance, while lies are fragile, constantly at risk of unraveling. To protect yourself, pay attention to inconsistencies. Do their stories shift under pressure? Are their actions aligned with their words? Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on actions, as they reveal a person's true character. When you spot discrepancies between someone's words and actions, trust your observations over their claims. Ask questions, demand transparency, and most importantly, set boundaries. Honesty isn't just the foundation of relationships. It's a mirror reflecting integrity, and when dishonesty persists, don't hesitate to walk away. Stoicism reminds us that real strength lies in mastering ourselves and distancing from what undermines our values and peace. So, the next time you encounter someone who lies without conscience, hold your ground, focus on their actions, and safeguard yourself against their web of deceit. Number 4, lack of empathy. Seneca once observed that humans are social creatures, not meant to live solely for themselves. Empathy is the bridge that connects us, allowing us to share in the joys and sorrows of others. Yet for the truly malicious, other people are nothing more than pawns in their self-serving games. They do not genuinely care about your happiness or pain unless it aligns with their personal agenda. The lack of empathy is not just a flaw in character, it's a glaring window into a hollow soul. Imagine this: you're sitting across from a friend, pouring your heart out about a struggle that's been weighing you down. Instead of support, they deflect. "Oh, you think that's bad? Let me tell you about my day," they retort, dismissing your vulnerability as trivial. This is not an isolated act, it's a pattern. These individuals are unwilling, or worse, incapable of stepping outside their own interests to connect with your experience. Their detachment manifests in a chilling indifference, or even silent delight in your misfortunes, leaving a void where empathy should reside. Empathy isn't just a nice to have, It's the cornerstone of meaningful relationships. Without it, interactions become transactional, one-sided and emotionally draining. Malicious individuals leverage their lack of empathy to further their selfish goals. They may feign compassion when it's convenient, but their apathy becomes evident the moment their mask slips. As Marcus Aurelius wisely advised, no more arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. So, what do you do when faced with such indifference? Set firm boundaries, protect your peace, and do not allow their coldness to diminish your worth. Seek relationships built on mutual respect and understanding, relationships that uplift rather than tear down. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your joy and stand with you in sorrow, because true connection is rooted in empathy, not exploitation. Before we move on to the next sign, if you're liking the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel with the bell so you don't miss out on future videos. And if you enjoy this kind of content as much as I do, comment "I see the signs." Let's keep learning. Number 5. The hunger for control. For an evil person, control isn't just a habit, it's their lifeline. They want to dominate everything around them, from relationships and thoughts to even the smallest of your decisions. Marcus Aurelius once said that your mind is under your control, not external circumstances. When you realize this, you discover your true strength. But this strength is precisely what malicious individuals seek to strip from you, because they know that controlling your mind is the key to ruling your entire life. I once knew someone who initially appeared trustworthy. At first, their advice seemed thoughtful and genuinely helpful. Over time, however, a troubling pattern emerged. They began inserting subtle, undermining remarks into conversations, casting doubt on my decisions, and making me feel as though I needed their guidance to make the right choices. Once, when I was considering joining an important project, they convinced me that I wasn't capable, urging me to let them take the lead. At the time, I complied because they made me feel incapable of trusting my own judgment. In hindsight, it was clear they simply wanted to keep me under their control, ensuring I would never outgrow them. People like this don't just want to influence your actions. They aim to dominate your thoughts and emotions. They use guilt, shame, or sweet words to make you dependent on them. They're not invested in your growth. Their goal is to keep you within their grasp. Over time, you begin doubting yourself, your abilities, and your worth, leaving your autonomy eroded. Epictetus wisely said that freedom is the only worthy goal in life, and that freedom comes from refusing to be controlled by what lies beyond our influence. Malicious individuals know this well, and they'll stop at nothing to imprison your mind. But you don't have to live that way. You have the right to reject their games. Ask yourself, does this align with my values? And use that question as a compass to guide your actions. Autonomy is the greatest power you possess, and it's not for anyone to take from you. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that the quality of our thoughts determines the happiness of our lives. Don't let anyone shape your reality or make you question your value. Protect your mind. It is the starting point of true freedom. Those who genuinely care for you will never try to control you. Instead, they'll empower you to make your own decisions and grow in your own way. So, stand firm, hold your ground, and let your mind lead you to the freedom you deserve. Number 6. Blame games and deflection. Seneca wisely observed that people often prefer trust over judgment. This is precisely what manipulative individuals exploit to their advantage. Instead of taking accountability, they craft stories that cast themselves as victims in every situation. By blaming others and deflecting responsibility, they not only avoid consequences, but also shift the burden onto someone else with an unsettling finesse. As Seneca noted, the truth stands firm without justification, while lies always require elaborate stories to sustain them. Imagine dealing with someone who always evades accountability. Every time something goes wrong, they avoid admitting their mistakes and instead blame you or external circumstances. Once, I worked on an important project with a close friend. When things started going south, rather than owning up to her oversights, she was quick to criticize my organizational approach, leaving me questioning whether I was the problem. What made it worse was her subtle tone, as if she was merely offering constructive feedback. After multiple instances, I realized I was being manipulated into bearing the brunt of every error. These individuals excel at crafting narratives that distort reality and cloud your judgment. They manipulate emotions, making you feel guilty even when they are at fault. They rely on your sensitivity and trust to weave a story in which they are always the victim, and you somehow become the villain. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the truth stands on its own. When faced with such individuals, it's crucial to maintain an objective perspective and resist letting emotions dictate your reactions. Stay anchored in facts, and don't hesitate to question or refute false claims. When they try to shift blame, calmly but firmly demand clarity. This approach not only keeps you from falling prey to their blame games, but also reinforces your own integrity. To handle such people, establish clear boundaries. Refuse to engage in the psychological games they construct to dodge responsibility. Instead, stand firm in your truth, ensuring they cannot manipulate or distort reality. Integrity and accountability are hallmarks of a strong character. When someone consistently refuses to take responsibility, their true nature becomes evident. Your job is to protect your peace and steer clear of their games. Number 7, the pleasure of pain. One of the most chilling traits of a truly malicious individual is the satisfaction they derive from others' suffering. Epictetus wisely advised, associate with those who make you better, yet, for these individuals, they are not interested in growth or support. They seek opportunities to degrade and find joy in the pain around them. Whether subtle or overt, this toxic pleasure is a clear signal that you should distance yourself. This delight in others' misery often begins with small, seemingly harmless actions. It could be a sarcastic remark, a mocking laugh at someone's misfortune, or a smirk of satisfaction when witnessing someone else's failure. Over time, these behaviors reveal their true nature. They don't seek to elevate themselves through hard work or merit, but by standing on the shoulders of those they tear down. I once had a friend who reveled in sharing the missteps of others with a strange enthusiasm. One day, she chuckled when a coworker was publicly reprimanded in the office. At first, I thought it was mere indifference, but as time passed, it became clear this was her way of feeling powerful. Instead of offering support or empathy, she magnified others' struggles to make herself appear superior. Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than one who never faces his adversity." However, for such individuals, adversity isn't a lesson, it's a tool. Their joy doesn't come from achieving anything meaningful, but from watching others stumble. They sabotage, gossip, or intentionally harm to feed their ego. At the root of this behavior lies deep insecurity. They need others to suffer to feel better about themselves. But this fleeting satisfaction is just a temporary mask for their inner emptiness. To counter individuals like this, Stoic philosophy underscores the importance of safeguarding your self-worth and choosing relationships that foster growth. Recognize the signs, their indifference, their enjoyment of others' pain, or their fixation on failures to feel superior. Step away from them, because every moment you spend in their presence is a moment you lose peace and self-value. Surround yourself with those who lift you up, those who celebrate your growth rather than diminish it. These are the people who not only respect you, but encourage you to be the best version of yourself. True joy is never built on the suffering of others, but on shared success and genuine relationships. Number 8. Isolation as a weapon. Marcus Aurelius once said that humans are born to cooperate. Our strength lies in unity, shared experiences, and the encouragement of those who care for us. But for malicious individuals, this natural order is precisely what they aim to disrupt. One of their most potent weapons is isolation. By separating you from loved ones, friends, or support groups, they not only strip away your emotional strength, but also make you easier to control and manipulate. I once had a friend who initially seemed genuine and caring. Over time, however, she started making subtle negative comments about people close to me. "Your best friend doesn't really treat you well," she'd say with a serious tone, "or your family doesn't understand you the way I do." At first, I brushed off her remarks, thinking she was just looking out for me. But as time passed, these comments became more frequent, creating doubt and distancing me from the relationships that had always been my strongest support system. Her approach was gentle yet calculated, effectively isolating me from those who mattered most. This tactic is no accident. It's a deliberate psychological maneuver used by toxic individuals to sow insecurity and make you believe they're the only ones who truly care. The more isolated you become, the greater their control over you grows. But here's what they don't want you to realize. True strength comes from connection, from genuine and solid relationships. Unity is the foundation of resilience. If you start noticing feelings of loneliness or detachment from your loved ones, pause and reflect. Re-evaluate the situation. Trust your instincts, and don't hesitate to reach out to those who truly matter to you. Speak to friends, family, and close confidants. They are the foundation that keeps you grounded, even when life feels unstable. Stoic philosophy reminds us that we are not meant to live in isolation. We are part of a larger community, and authentic relationships are where our true power lies. So, don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Protect your connections, and you'll find the strength to rise above any manipulation. Number 9. Jealousy in disguise. Envy is a toxic emotion, but it becomes most dangerous when it's disguised as concern or goodwill. Seneca once reminded us that envy is the ulcer of the soul, and for those who harbor it, their advice or attention often isn't meant to uplift you, but rather to chip away at your confidence. Such individuals can't stand the happiness or success of others. Cloaked in seemingly helpful advice or compliments, they sow seeds of doubt about your worth. I once had a friend who always seemed deeply invested in my achievements. After I completed a major project I was incredibly proud of, she said, "That's great, but maybe next time you should push yourself a bit more to really reach a higher standard." At first, I thought it was genuine advice, but upon reflection her tone carried an undertone, a subtle cut, not to lift me up, but to diminish what I had accomplished. What seemed like harmless feedback was, in reality, a way to make me feel like I wasn't good enough. These false compliments are often mixed with remarks that undermine. A jealous person won't attack you outright. Instead, they plant small doubts in your mind, making you question your capabilities and success. They might say things like, "You did really well, but don't get too excited. There's always room for improvement," or "That's amazing, but I heard someone else did something similar and got even better results." This behavior is neither care nor goodwill. It's a strategy to pull you down to their level. Envious individuals cannot celebrate your light because it highlights the shadows within themselves. They don't want to see you thrive. They want to see you shrink so they no longer feel threatened. Stoic philosophy teaches us to trust our intuition. If you sense something off in someone's praise or advice, listen to that feeling. Look deeper into the true intentions behind seemingly harmless words. A truly kind person will elevate you, praise you wholeheartedly, and encourage you to go further. In contrast, a jealous person uses their words as tools to control your emotions and chip away at your confidence. To protect yourself, set clear boundaries and don't let anyone diminish your worth. Surround yourself with those who genuinely celebrate your success, people who not only help you shine but push you to reach new heights. Remember, you don't need to dim your light to make others feel more comfortable. Stand firm in your value and let your light shine brightly. Number 10. The unrepentant heart. One of the clearest signs of an evil person is an unrepentant heart. Marcus Aurelius taught that we should not waste time debating what a good person should be, but instead focus on taking actions to improve ourselves. However, evil individuals often do the exact opposite. They cling to destructive habits, never admit fault, and certainly have no intention of repairing the damage they cause. They live in denial, justifying their actions with elaborate excuses, making it seem as if the problem never lies with them. Think of someone you've known, a person who always had an excuse for every mistake. When they hurt others, instead of apologizing, they'd blame the circumstances or argue that others are no better. Whenever someone tried to explain how their behavior caused harm, they'd deflect, shift blame, or even accuse the other person of overreacting. But what truly stands out is their complete refusal to change. To them, self-reflection and correcting wrongs are seen as weaknesses, while stubbornness is viewed as a strength. This mindset starkly contrasts with Stoic philosophy. A Stoic understands that self-reflection, admitting mistakes, and making amends are not signs of weakness, but of courage and self-respect. Those with unrepentant hearts not only hurt others, but also reject the opportunity for personal growth and maturity. If you're close to someone who constantly justifies their actions, avoids accountability, and never seeks to repair the harm they've done, take a moment to reflect. Not everyone is willing to grow or change. Protect yourself from toxic relationships like these, and invest your energy in those who lift you up, people with the courage to confront their own flaws and strive to be better. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, focus your mind on thoughts and people who elevate the quality of your life. So, we've just walked through 10 evident signs that there might be an evil person lurking close to you. Chilling, right? But remember, awareness is your most powerful weapon. Evil people can only manipulate you when you're unaware of their tactics. Once you recognize their strategies, you not only protect yourself but also shield your inner peace from their chaos. Marcus Aurelius taught us that true strength lies in mastering your mind and your reactions. Don't let toxic individuals invade your mental space or disrupt your serenity. Set boundaries, stand firm, and keep shining, because your light is the very thing they fear most. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment "I see the signs" to let the world know you're ready to safeguard yourself from negative influences. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where your wisdom will continue to grow. Have you ever found yourself in a tricky situation where someone publicly disrespects you? Maybe it was a tactless, sarcastic comment in front of others, or an awkward joke that left you feeling undervalued and humiliated. In moments like these, have you ever wondered, how should I respond to not just maintain my dignity, but actually earn respect, even from people who habitually disregard others' value? Don't worry, you're not alone. We've all experienced moments like this, and the fascinating thing is, you have more control than you might think over how you handle them. In this video, we're diving into some effective tips and psychological techniques inspired by the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy. These strategies won't just help you navigate difficult situations calmly, they'll also help you gain respect from those around you. Stick around, because we're going to explore exactly how to respond intelligently, turning uncomfortable moments into opportunities to affirm your self-worth. Let's start by understanding why you sometimes find yourself in these situations. In many cases, it's not because people hate you or hold a personal grudge. The issue often lies in a kind of opportunism that some people exhibit. These individuals try to elevate themselves by diminishing others. They think that making you appear weak or uncomfortable will make them stand out more. This behavior is common not just in workplaces, but also in social circles and even within families. Stoic philosophy, with its timeless insights, teaches us that respect isn't something you demand or impose on others. Instead, it's about how you conduct yourself, how you build and establish boundaries for your own self-worth. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength in moments like these. Your calm and confidence are your ultimate weapons." But it's not just about how you handle unpleasant situations. The bigger picture is creating an environment where respect for you becomes a given. What does that mean? It's about ensuring that no one uses you as a stepping stone to boost their own image. You need to demonstrate that you know your value and won't be shaken by cheap remarks or undermining actions. So, get ready to explore how to apply Stoic philosophy in everyday life. These small but powerful strategies will help you stand your ground in any situation. And if you've ever felt unbalanced, bad or undervalued by others, remember this: respect isn't earned through aggressive comebacks, but through how calmly and steadfastly you control yourself. Now let's dive into these practical solutions and show you how to handle disrespect with grace and strength. First tip: first impressions matter a lot. First impressions are the foundation of how you are perceived. And interestingly, it's often less about what you say and more about how you present yourself. Picture this: you're at an important networking event. Someone walks into the room, scans the crowd, and makes their way toward you. They extend their hand for a greeting, but instead of standing up, you remain seated, offering a quick glance at their hand before shaking it. The result? You've unintentionally conveyed a lack of confidence and signaled that this interaction might not matter much to you. Small actions like this have a massive impact on how others perceive you. The Stoics understood this deeply. They recognized that simple gestures like standing up and maintaining eye contact during a greeting aren't just good manners. They're powerful expressions of confidence and self-awareness. When you rise to shake someone's hand, you're subtly communicating equality, readiness, and mutual respect. This aligns with a key Stoic principle. How you present yourself reflects your values and shapes how others see you. Let me share a story. I once attended a professional seminar where networking was the primary goal among the attendees. One individual stood out. Whether greeting a senior executive or thanking a waiter for refilling his coffee, he always stood up, made eye contact, and engaged fully. It wasn't flashy or overdone, but it left an impression. People respected him not because of what he said, but because of how he carried himself. He projected confidence and sincerity with every interaction, effortlessly commanding respect. In contrast, I noticed another attendee who remained seated during every greeting. He didn't mean to come across as disinterested. It was simply a habit. Yet, this seemingly minor action created an unspoken barrier. People unconsciously took him less seriously, even though he was just as capable as anyone else in the room. This highlighted an essential truth. Standing up isn't just about politeness. It's about acknowledging the other person's value and asserting your own. The lesson is clear, right? Rising to greet someone is not just an act of courtesy, it's a declaration of how you value yourself and others. Here's where Stoicism comes in. The Stoics didn't focus on things beyond their control. They maximized what they could influence. In this case, it's your behavior, your presentation, and the way you communicate your worth through small yet meaningful actions. If you want to adopt this lesson in your life, start with everyday encounters. Whether you're meeting someone in the office, at a cafe, or even during a virtual meeting, make sure you're fully present. Stand up when greeting someone, maintain eye contact, and project confidence with your body language. These simple gestures not only earn you respect, but also emphasize your inherent value, a reflection of Stoic principles in action. Remember, first impressions aren't just about appearances. They're about showcasing your confidence, self-respect, and the respect you have for others. This is the essence of what Stoicism teaches us. Live with intention, pay attention to the small things, and let those actions define who you are. So the next time you meet someone, rise to the occasion, look them in the eye, and let your actions speak louder than words. Second tip: if someone interrupts you in public during a conversation, the best thing you can do is to fix that person with a firm and determined look. When someone interrupts you during a conversation, especially in a public setting, it can feel downright frustrating. You're trying to make a point, and suddenly someone jumps in, derailing your train of thought. But hold on a second. The natural reaction for many is to get angry or respond sharply, but that often only escalates the situation and makes you appear less composed. So what should you do? This is where Stoic philosophy steps in to help you handle the moment with calmness and authority. Stoicism teaches us that true strength doesn't come from controlling others, it comes from controlling ourselves. In this situation, a simple, steady gaze can convey a stronger message than any words. Instead of reacting impulsively, Pause. Look directly at the person who interrupted you with a calm yet focused gaze. Let the silence speak for you. Their behavior is inappropriate, and you won't tolerate being disrespected. This not only demonstrates confidence, but also encourages the other person to reflect on their actions. I remember once, during a family dinner, I was sharing a funny story when a relative interrupted to share their own. At first I felt a bit flustered and awkward, but instead of cutting them off mid-sentence, I stopped, looked at them calmly, and waited. The silence lasted only a few seconds, but carried more weight than any words could have. They quickly realized they'd interrupted at the wrong moment, corrected themselves, and allowed me to continue. The rest of the evening was smooth, and I regained control of the conversation without any drama. This strategy works particularly well in public or group settings. By staying composed and in control, you naturally draw attention. Your presence becomes stronger, and you don't need to raise your voice or argue to reclaim your space in the conversation. Stoicism teaches us not to let others' actions dictate our emotions. Instead, we use tools like body language and calmness to steer the situation without losing our dignity. But the gaze is just the beginning. Once the interruption is addressed politely but firmly, resume your point. A simple phrase like "let me pick up where I left off" not only asserts your right to speak, but also maintains respect for everyone involved. Remember, the goal isn't to embarrass the other person, but to set a clear expectation that respect in communication is non-negotiable. What's remarkable about this approach is that it requires no aggression or intimidation. Just stay calm, avoid showing anger, and let your actions speak volumes. When others see you handle interruptions with confidence and intention, they'll not only respect you more, but also reflect on their own behavior. Stoicism reminds us that true power lies in maintaining self-control, even in challenging moments. So next time someone interrupts you, don't lose your cool. Stand firm, hold your gaze, and show others that you are someone worth listening to. This isn't just about earning respect. It's about expressing your self-worth in a way that's both meaningful and lasting. Well tip: when someone tries to humiliate you with a joke in a group of friends, adopt this strategy when someone in your group of friends deliberately tries to humiliate you with a joke. Your first instinct might be to feel embarrassed or upset. But remember, the way you respond will determine the entire dynamic of the situation. This is where Stoic philosophy can be an incredibly powerful tool, helping you stay calm and take control. Once, during a casual meetup with old friends, one of them decided to mock me in front of everyone by retelling an embarrassing story from our school days. At first I felt my face heat up, and my immediate reaction was to fire back. But instead of letting my emotions take over, I recalled a Stoic principle: what doesn't harm your essence isn't worth your concern. I smiled, pretended not to have heard the story, and calmly asked my friend to repeat it, maintaining a composed and slightly curious demeanor. Here's the fascinating part: when the person had to retell the joke, its impact significantly diminished. Not only that, but the group started to sense the awkwardness of forcing someone to recount a joke that wasn't landing well anymore. The loud laughter from earlier faded, and the storyteller began to fumble, realizing their attempt at humiliation had backfired. The key here is that asking someone to repeat their joke not only reduces its impact, but also shows that you're unshaken. This approach allows you to maintain your composure while subtly highlighting the other person's inappropriate behavior. Even more importantly, it shifts the dynamic in your favor without resorting to retaliatory tactics or losing your dignity. By choosing this path, you send a powerful message. You're someone with inner strength who won't let small provocations dictate your emotions. This is one of the core lessons of Stoic philosophy, maintaining calm and control in the face of minor life challenges. So how can you apply this principle effectively? First, remember that you don't need to react instantly to every action or word. Pause, take a breath, and think. Second, use silence as a powerful weapon. Silence isn't passive. It creates space for the other person to realize their mistake. Finally, when you do respond, do it with calm confidence. A simple request for them to repeat what they said, spoken in a neutral tone, can have far more impact than arguing or fighting back. Stoicism teaches us that our reactions to uncomfortable situations reflect our character and inner values. Every time you stay calm and refuse to be drawn into negativity, you not only gain the respect of others, but also reinforce your own self-respect. So, the next time someone tries to mock you in front of others, remember you have complete control over how the story ends, and with calmness and clarity, you'll always come out on top. Tip 4. When someone is trying to provoke you or make you angry, you can use a very effective psychological technique. Have you ever faced a situation where someone deliberately tried to provoke you or hurt you, and instead of reacting immediately, you managed to handle it gracefully? Imagine this. You're at a family gathering and someone makes a pointed remark about a failure in your career in front of everyone. It's the kind of comment that feels like a dagger to your heart, digging into a pain you've been trying to move past. Suddenly, all eyes are on you, waiting to see how you'll respond. In that moment, instead of reacting defensively or trying to explain yourself, you take a brief pause, stay calm, and ask, "Hey, does anyone know a good bakery nearby? I was thinking about picking up something for the next get-together." That simple question instantly changes the energy in the room. The person trying to provoke you is left flustered, unsure of how to proceed, and the conversation quickly shifts to a new, more neutral topic. Not only did you avoid escalating the situation, but you also turned an uncomfortable moment into one that worked in your favor. This strategy of asking an unrelated question is more than just a clever tactic. It's a way of reclaiming control over your emotions and the situation. By interrupting the flow of provocation, you redirect attention away from the negative energy and refuse to give the instigator the satisfaction of seeing you upset. It's a perfect example of practicing Stoic principles, focusing on what you can control and refusing to let external circumstances dictate your peace of mind. As Epictetus wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The brilliance of this technique lies in its ability to derail negativity without confrontation. A well-timed, unrelated question disrupts the instigator's train of thought, making it nearly impossible for them to continue their attempt to provoke you. At the same time, it allows you to maintain your composure and project a sense of confidence and self-control. This is a powerful way to command respect in any social situation. To make this approach work, it's essential to keep your tone and demeanor natural. If it seems forced or calculated, it might come across as insincere. Choose a simple, neutral question or comment that feels organic to the moment. Something about a nearby restaurant, a recent event, or even a casual observation. The goal is not to dodge the situation awkwardly, but to shift the conversation with subtlety and ease. This technique doesn't just work in the moment. It builds long-term resilience and inner strength. By refusing to be dragged into emotional conflicts, you demonstrate to yourself and others that you're in control. People around you will notice this composure and come to respect you for it. More importantly, using this strategy is a step toward cultivating the core Stoic value of focusing on what you can control. You can't dictate how others behave, but you can decide how you respond. In doing so, you reinforce your sense of self-worth and send a clear message. You will not allow others to undermine your peace or dignity. Next time you find yourself in a situation where someone's words are aimed to provoke or hurt, remember this approach. Ask a simple, unrelated question and observe how the dynamic changes. You'll not only diffuse the tension, but also feel empowered by your ability to rise above it. As Marcus Aurelius wisely reminded us, true power comes from maintaining peace of mind regardless of external circumstances. By mastering this, you'll not only handle challenges with grace, but also elevate the respect others have for you in any situation. Let's move on to the fifth and final tip: walking away. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you felt undervalued, disrespected, or even completely ignored? It's not a pleasant feeling, but sometimes the best way to protect your self-respect is to choose to walk away. Stoic philosophy teaches us that respect isn't something you can demand. It's something you cultivate by knowing your own worth. And sometimes, walking away isn't a sign of weakness. It's a demonstration of strength and self-worth. Let me share a story with you. A friend of mine, Sarah, was an exceptional creative professional. One day, she joined a major project at her company. However, instead of being recognized for her relentless efforts, she was constantly ridiculed by her manager in front of the team. They would interrupt her in meetings, dismiss her ideas, and make her feel as if her contributions didn't matter. At first, Sarah tried harder, believing she needed to prove herself. But after months of frustration, she realized she didn't need to beg for respect from people unwilling to give it. A pivotal meeting changed everything. Once again, her idea was brushed aside without any reason. This time, Sarah calmly closed her laptop, stood up and said she would put her energy into a place where it was valued. She walked out of the meeting, leaving her colleagues stunned. That same day, she submitted her resignation, not out of anger but as an act of self-preservation. A few months later, Sarah joined another company in a leadership role, where she was not only respected but celebrated for her talents. Sarah's story isn't just about leaving, it's about choosing where to invest your energy. Walking away doesn't signify weakness. On the contrary, it demonstrates that you understand your value and refuse to stay in an environment that undermines it. Stoic philosophy teaches us that the only thing we can truly control is how we respond to situations. While you can't force others to respect you, you can decide not to remain in a place where respect is absent. The most powerful part of walking away is that it's not about creating drama or proving a point. It's a personal decision. Quiet but resolute. It's a way of telling yourself, "I am worth more than this." Marcus Aurelius emphasized, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Staying in a disrespectful environment is choosing to let others diminish your value. So, how do you know when it's time to walk away? It's when you realize that all your efforts to build respect have been met with indifference. when you feel you're constantly fighting to be recognized. Don't wait until your self-esteem has been eroded. Listen to yourself, and if necessary, choose to leave, because being an absence that's respected is far better than being a presence that's diminished. Walking away is not about surrendering, it's about setting boundaries. Stoic philosophy teaches us not only to control our emotions, but also to safeguard our sense of worth. The next time you find yourself being devalued, remember that sometimes the most respectful action you can take is to leave the table where your worth isn't recognized. Respect isn't begged for, it's built by how you decide to treat yourself. I would love to hear about your journey and triumphs. Please hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and leave a comment below to share your story, your successes, and even the challenges you've overcome. If you're not sure what to comment, just write, "I can do it," to show that you've completed this session. Your engagement helps this community grow toward wisdom and the art of turning every challenge into an opportunity. I'll leave 2 more videos here so you can continue learning and growing on your personal development journey. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Let's be honest, our world has become a giant, noisy circus. Everyone's talking, few are listening, and somewhere in between, wisdom gets lost in the shuffle. But what if I told you that silence, yes, that simple, often overlooked pause, could be your greatest weapon? Think about it. How many times have you blurted something out in anger and instantly regretted it, or watched a heated argument spiral out of control when a well-placed silence could have ended it? Even Marcus Aurelius himself knew the power of restraint. He didn't just rule an empire, he ruled his own tongue. You see, silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's a strategy, a form of self-discipline, a statement that speaks louder than words. In a world that rewards the loudest voices, choosing silence at the right moments can set you apart, command respect, and even shift the balance of power in your favor. So when should you embrace silence? When is keeping your mouth shut not just smart, but life-changing? Stick with me, because today we're diving into the 9 crucial moments when saying nothing at all is the ultimate act of wisdom. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Now let's get started. Number 1. When being criticized unfairly. Have you ever received criticism so unfair that it made you want to scream, flip a table, or at least draft a long, angry response in your head? We've all been there. It's that moment when someone completely off base accuses you of something ridiculous, and your first instinct is to fight back. Maybe it was a co-worker blaming you for a project's failure when you weren't even involved, or a friend misinterpreting your words and painting you as the villain. The injustice of it burns. But what if I told you that these moments, these infuriating, hair-pulling moments, are actually golden opportunities? According to Stoic philosophy, being unfairly criticized is not a curse, but a chance to show strength, integrity, and self-control. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who had his fair share of critics, once said, if something external disturbs you, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment about it. Think about that for a second. It's not the criticism that hurts, it's our reaction to it. It's the story we tell ourselves about what it means. And the best part, we can change that story. Imagine this: you're at a family dinner, and your aunt, the one who has an opinion on everything, suddenly comments, "You've never really been great with money. I'm surprised you're still managing on your own." Now, your blood starts to boil. The temptation to fire back is strong. You want to list every smart financial decision you've made, throw in a few economic terms just to prove how wrong she is, and maybe even bring up that time she fell for a multi-level marketing scheme. But pause. What would a Stoic do? A Stoic would take a deep breath and remember, this is not about you. It's about her perception, her own biases, maybe even her insecurities. You don't have to prove anything. Epictetus, another great Stoic thinker, taught that we should separate ourselves from the criticism. You control your mind, not external events. Realize this, and you will find strength. So, instead of seeing your aunt's comment as a personal attack, see it for what it really is. Just words, just an opinion. And opinions, as we all know, are everywhere. Some are helpful, some are nonsense, and some are simply projections of other people's fears and experiences. But let's take it further. What if hidden inside unfair criticism, there's actually something useful? Even the most ridiculous feedback can contain a sliver of truth. Maybe your aunt's delivery was terrible, but is there a lesson there? Could it be that you've been meaning to revisit your budget or look into better investment options? This isn't about admitting she was right. It's about using everything, yes, even the unfair, frustrating, completely misplaced criticism, to improve yourself. And here's another radical idea. Silence. Not every attack needs a counterattack. Not every unfair remark needs a defense. There's a quiet power in refusing to engage in unnecessary battles. Picture a boxing match where one fighter just stands there, calm, unaffected. The other person eventually looks ridiculous, swinging at the air. That's you when you don't react. You remain centered while the person throwing baseless criticism loses their steam. Marcus Aurelius captured this idea perfectly. Don't waste time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. In other words, let your actions speak louder than any defense you could mount. This approach doesn't just protect your peace, it changes the dynamic. When you stay calm in the face of unfair criticism, people notice. It sets you apart. It makes you someone others respect because you're not easily rattled. And in the long run, this earns you more credibility than any argument ever could. Of course, this is easier said than done. Our natural instinct is to protect our ego, to make sure people get the facts straight. But if you look at the long game, you'll see that Stoicism isn't about letting people walk all over you. It's about choosing your battles wisely. It's about knowing that your value isn't determined by what others say about you, but by how you carry yourself in response. So, the next time you're unfairly criticized, pause. Ask yourself, is this about me? Or is it about them? Is there any truth here that I can use? And most importantly, will engaging in this fight actually benefit me? Or is my silence the real power move? Unfair criticism isn't a roadblock, it's a test. And if you handle it well, you don't just walk away unscathed, you walk away stronger. Number 2, Stoic silence in the middle of boasts. We've all been there, stuck in a conversation where someone just won't stop talking about how amazing they are. Maybe it's a coworker who just landed a high-profile client and keeps dropping mentions of their genius strategy. Or perhaps it's an old friend who suddenly found success and now speaks in TED Talk about their grind and determination. you feel the urge to counter, to throw in your own wins, to subtly remind them and everyone else that you're doing just fine too. But here's the problem. The moment you engage in that game, you've already lost. Stoicism teaches that real confidence doesn't come from proving anything to anyone. It comes from knowing you don't have to. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that what other people say and do is their business, not ours. In moments like these, when someone is basking in their own self-importance, your greatest power move is silence. Not the awkward, insecure kind, not the kind that's seething with resentment, but the kind that comes from deep, unshakable confidence. It's the ability to simply listen, maybe nod, maybe even smile, without feeling the need to enter the ring of one-upmanship. Imagine you're at a dinner party, and one guest, let's call him Jeff, has taken it upon himself to dominate the conversation. He's talking about his new investment property, his luxury vacation, how he's mastered intermittent fasting and now has the metabolism of a teenager. The table listens politely, but you can sense the undercurrent. Some are impressed, some are bored, some are quietly irritated. You consider chiming in, maybe sharing your own recent win. But then you remember, you don't need to. Instead, you sit back, sip your drink, and enjoy the show. What happens next? Jeff keeps talking. His words reveal more about him than they do about you or anyone else. And the more he talks, the more obvious it becomes that his need to be admired is just that, a need. You, on the other hand, don't need external validation. And that right there is what sets you apart. This is the power of strategic silence. It's not about being passive. It's about choosing when to engage and when to conserve your energy. It's about realizing that life is not a competition where every success story must be met with another. Instead of measuring yourself against others, you shift your focus to something much more valuable, your own path, your own progress, your own peace of mind. Psychologically, this is a game changer. When you stop reacting to boasts, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of comparison. You become more self-assured, more centered, and paradoxically, people respect you more for it. Because nothing says insecure in myself like the ability to let others shine without feeling the need to dim their light or to make yours burn brighter. So, next time you find yourself in a room full of self-promotion, try this. Listen, acknowledge, but don't compete. Let others talk. Let them reveal who they are. And in doing so, you'll reveal who you are, not through words, but through the quiet, effortless grace of someone who knows exactly what they're worth. Number 3, when dealing with anger. Anger is a tricky thing. It sneaks up on you, explodes without warning, and before you know it, you're standing in the aftermath, wondering if it was really worth it. And yet, when we're caught in that moment, heart racing, adrenaline surging, reason often takes a backseat. But here's the secret. Anger only has as much power as we give it. And this is where Stoicism offers a solution, not by telling us to suppress anger, but by teaching us how to master it. Picture this. You're at the grocery store after a long, exhausting day. You finally get in line, and just as it's your turn to check out, someone cuts right in front of you. No apology, no acknowledgement. Instantly, your blood pressure spikes. Your mind starts drafting a speech that would put any courtroom drama to shame. But then you stop. What if you did nothing? What if instead of reacting, you simply observed? That pause, that moment of silence, isn't weakness, it's power, because in that instant, you've done something most people struggle to do. You've chosen control over impulse. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most powerful rulers, understood this well. He once wrote, "How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it?" Think about that. It's never just the thing that makes us angry, it's the chain reaction that follows. Losing your temper at a coworker, now you're the difficult one. Yelling at your spouse, that argument lingers long after the words are spoken. Anger convinces us that we're defending ourselves, when in reality we're just making things worse. But let's be honest, staying calm isn't always easy. That's why the Stoics practiced stepping back from the situation before reacting. It's not about bottling things up, but about choosing a response that actually serves you. When we get angry, it's often because we feel out of control. But the irony, our real power comes from realizing that we don't have to control the world, just ourselves. A key part of mastering anger is understanding what triggers it. Is it a sense of unfairness, a bruised ego? Once you identify the source, you start to see that most of what makes you mad isn't about the other person, it's about your own expectations. Epictetus put it simply, you control your mind, not external events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The grocery store example, that frustration doesn't come from the person cutting in line. It comes from your expectation that people should always be polite. Shift that perspective, and suddenly their rudeness loses its grip on you. Of course, none of this means we should tolerate injustice or let people walk all over us. But responding with measured thought instead of blind rage is far more effective. If something truly needs to be addressed, it's best done from a place of calm, not fury. Nelson Mandela, after years of imprisonment, could have emerged filled with bitterness. Instead, he chose to use his experience to lead his country toward reconciliation, not because he was weak, but because he understood that anger alone doesn't create change, wisdom does. So, how do we apply this in daily life? Start small. When frustration rises, take a breath. Give yourself the space to think before you act. Use deep breathing, shift your focus, or even better, channel that energy into something productive. Exercise, write, create. Do anything that transforms that fire into something worthwhile. Anger isn't inherently bad. In fact, when directed properly, it can be a powerful motivator. The key is to let it fuel you, not control you. At the end of the day, the goal isn't to never feel anger, it's to respond in a way that benefits you, not one that leaves you cleaning up the damage. The next time you're faced with a moment of frustration, remember, silence is an option, and sometimes it's the most powerful one you have. Number 4, silence in the middle of false rumors. Rumors are like wildfire. They spread fast, burn hot, and often leave nothing but destruction in their wake. When people talk, stories twist and turn, picking up exaggerations along the way, and before you know it, fiction becomes fact in the minds of many. In moments like these, when you find yourself at the center of gossip or false accusations, the instinct to defend yourself is overwhelming. You want to correct every falsehood, confront every whisper, and prove your innocence beyond any doubt. But Stoicism offers a more effective approach. one that doesn't drain your energy or pull you into a never-ending battle. Silence. It's easy to believe that speaking up is the only way to regain control, but often the opposite is true. The more you argue against false accusations, the more attention you bring to them. The more you try to explain yourself, the more you sound like you have something to explain. Words can be manipulated, taken out of context, and twisted into further misunderstanding. But silence cannot be distorted. It stands firm, unshaken by the chaos around it. As Marcus Aurelius said, "You hold power over your thoughts, not over outside events, the opinions of others, the stories they create, and the judgments they make. These are all outside of your control. But your response, that is yours to command." Choosing not to engage in gossip and false narratives is not an act of surrender, it's an act of confidence. It shows that you trust the truth to reveal itself in time. It also preserves your peace, keeping you from being consumed by frustration or resentment. Stoicism teaches that inner strength is built by focusing only on what you can control: your own actions, your own integrity, your own path. When you stop giving power to the noise around you, you free yourself from the burden of constantly proving yourself to others. Rumors will always rise and fall, but character is steady. It is not defined by the opinions of the crowd, but by the way you carry yourself when faced with adversity. By choosing silence, you are not ignoring the situation. You are refusing to let it control you. And in the end, that quiet confidence speaks louder than any defense ever could. If you found these insights valuable, let me know by commenting yes below. Your thoughts matter, and I'd love to hear from you. Number 5. How to deal with loss. Loss has a way of bringing everything to a halt. The world around you keeps moving. People go about their daily lives, but inside, there's nothing but silence, the kind that lingers in empty spaces, in memories that suddenly feel sharper, in the weight of what's missing. It's tempting to fill that silence with distractions, to escape the discomfort by keeping busy or numbing the pain. But Stoicism offers a different approach, one that doesn't seek to run from grief, but to understand it, to use it as a means of growth.